So, our top 5 least favorite movies of all time. This was a difficult list to make.
Okay. Welcome to Movies with My Dad.
Yes, welcome to Movies with My Dad. Whatever, everybody knows that. That's what I put it in the title.
Okay. Well, Ryan threw down the challenge of coming up with our top 5 worst movies of all time.
Well,
it was actually
a friend. It was a friend of ours who will remain nameless for their safety if they choose. But
a shout out to our friend.
Yeah, I'll ask them if they want me to or not. But before I have the all clear, I'm gonna go ahead and keep their name out of it. But it's in a comment on Wonder Woman actually. So go if you guys are watching this, go share that comment.
You'll track it out and you figure it out.
Oh, you guys are weirdos. So she challenged us to think of our top 5 least favorite movies. So I found this one really difficult to do because you don't think about your least favorite movie. You think about your favorite movies. So it didn't take me too long. It took me half an hour. But
the ones you don't like, you don't watch again, and you bury them. You don't.
Right.
You either walked out, walked away, or just too terrible to even think of.
Exactly. So the thing I want to preface this list with is I didn't just take some random movie that was very indie and nobody really knows about because it's so bad. It's
we're not pulling B movies out of here and telling you their worst movie. Everybody already knows those stink.
There's a movie called Abduction with Taylor Lautner as the main character.
Yeah.
It's really bad, it's definitely one of my least. It's one of my least favorite movies. But I'm not going to put it on the list because nobody's going to know it.
Yeah, no one knows.
So I put movies that I think people will know. And the big thing that I tried to do was I tried to steer away from sequels because typically sequels are always kind of bad. Or So here's what I should say. I stayed away from most sequels.
Empire Strikes Back, X-Men 2. But yeah, you're right.
I don't know. What do you want me to say?
No, you're
right. Every Muppet movie.
Generally, sequels are worse, but
everybody knows that. Exceptions. But what I mean is, I if a movie has a sequel and the sequel's worse than the first one and it's bad because you're comparing it, yes. I didn't do that. But if the sequel was a franchise killer or if there was a deeper,
funny you mentioned that.
So. First off, there's at least one movie that is for sure on both of our lists. So another thing I should say is we've come up with this challenge for 3 days. We talked about the criteria. Okay, we want to stay away from these movies. We want to stay away from those movies. But
we didn't even discuss that.
We hardly. So we don't know what each other's movies are. We haven't said one word about it. We didn't even hint at it.
We still have our lists
for 3 days
from each other.
Yeah, for 3 days we have our lists in our hands.
Come up with your 5 worst movies. That was it. We haven't had a discussion since about it.
All we done is set up the recording time.
Yeah.
So what you're hearing right now is our genuine reactions.
Okay. So my 5, same thing. Some of them are deeper meaning.
See that's what I did.
Deeper meaning. Mine 5. So
mine were my least favorite because there was a deeper meaning to it.
I have.
That's the same with my favorite movies.
I have a movie on here that's an honorable mention. Terrible movie.
Yes. So you have an extra.
Because of its impact on culture.
So here's my thing. Since we haven't discussed this at all, I don't even know who's going to go first. But since you have an honorable mention, I think you should go first. That way you do your 6th one.
I'm going to save my honorable mention to the end because it makes.
You want to save it for the end?
I don't want to lead. I don't want to lead with it.
Okay.
There's a reason I don't want to lead with it.
Makes sense.
And then there's one that it's on my list. Because
I already know what it is.
No.
Okay.
You don't. I promise you don't. It is the most horrifying movie I've ever seen. It was the age that I saw it and the impact that it had on me personally.
Is it Poltergeist?
No.
Oh. I tried to guess it. But so here's my...
We know you tried to guess it. You just guessed it.
I know, I'm sorry. I tend to announce what I did. I have one movie on here that I know for sure you're not going to guess.
So fire away.
Okay.
You can rank them however you want. I'm going to rank them a certain way. I'm going to put my...
I have mine in order.
My least worst first. Okay. And my worst is going to be last.
Okay, so I'm going to go with my number 5. Number 1 is the worst one. Number 1 is the worst of them. Number 5 is the best.
Same with me.
So I think I might catch some flack for this one in the community. I know I'm probably going to catch some flack with this for you, but I'm almost nervous saying this. My number 5 least favorite movie is the original animated Transformers movie.
Oh, how dare you?
I really no. I don't like it. Because here's the thing. I know you grew up with it too, but here's my. And by the way, we have to say why. Here's the thing.
Oh, I know. There's a why.
Here's the thing. I love a lot of the soundtrack, but that's about it. Because I grew up with all the DVDs of Transformers Season 1 and 2. We never had 3 and 4, so I didn't know Hot Rod or all these other guys. So I grew up and I would watch these constantly. And it wasn't just like the first 1 or 2 years that the season was out and then the movie came out. I watched these for years. And this was my childhood. Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, the Dinobots, everybody. I love the Transformers. And I watched the movie for the first time, and I watched all of my beloved Transformers die, and here's why it made the list. Because it was used for marketing and it was used to sell more toys. It honestly, it makes me really mad thinking about that. And the fact that they did it for a cash grab, the fact that they killed all my favorite characters, the fact that my beloved...
The movie was a commercial for the new figures.
And that is why I absolutely hate it. That's why it's one of my least favorite movies, because it killed my childhood series because they wanted more money.
Because they wanted to sell toys.
Because they
off
wanted
the backs
to sell
of
more
a bunch
toys.
of broken-hearted kids.
So
but even
the first time I watched that movie, it crushed my heart, and I watched all my favorite Autobots die, and they all get new form, and like that was just me as a kid. But now as I grow older and I keep watching it, I get angrier and angrier the more I think about the movie, because I realize more and more everything they did was just for money. How little they care about the kids who grew up with this, and with this being such a staple for me loving the Transformers so much and spending so much time thinking about like the lore and all the other stuff, to see it thrown around so carelessly because the executives who made it don't care and they just want money for it. And even though the fact that it only ran for 2 seasons with those characters because of that, because 3 and 4 is Hot Rod and the rest of them, it infuriates me, and that's why it's on the list.
So I wouldn't disagree with you in any way. The only difference, and I'm glad it made your list, because
it didn't make yours, that's for sure.
Well, no, but the only difference in your opinion, because you're spot on with all of that, the only difference is between your experience with that movie and my experience with the movie is, for me, it happened in real time.
Yes.
You didn't have it spoiled for you. You didn't know what was coming.
No.
But I watched it as it was happening. Transformers was new. It was everything. There were reruns, because it was on every day.
Yeah.
But this Transformers was my life. It was my childhood. It was everything. And I don't know how old you were when you watched it. Probably around the same age I was when I watched it. But
here's my thing. I started watching that when I was like 5 years old. And here's the thing: we have like the DVDs of it, and they tend to get mixed up. They tend to get a little lost, or you start watching other stuff. So I would watch these so much, and I had like to the point where I haven't seen a lot of the Transformers stuff. I hadn't watched it in like a few years, right? I'd see little tidbits here and there, but because we were moving and we did other stuff, we grew older, we went through some awkward phases, and it had been like years since I actually sat down and watched a Transformers episode. And my buddies come over, we start talking about how much we love the original series, and we track down a DVD and we play it, and I've got like the whole DVD memorized by heart that many years later because I loved them.
Yeah, because you watched them. So, Uncle Dan and our buddy Dustin, who was our neighbor, the three of us, you ask either of those two, and they'll tell you the same thing. They hate it. It was devastating. It was absolutely devastating when we watched that movie, and we watched it unfolding before our eyes that Optimus Prime is dead. We're like, okay, and then they never brought him back. They brought him back in some whack. Well, they brought back nonsense characters by that time. I didn't have Beast Wars. I didn't have all this extra stuff. All we had was this. This was it. And they recycled the same toy in who's the guy who's supposed to get the Matrix?
Magnus. Ultra Magnus.
Yeah, it's Optimus with a new trailer and a white paint job. I mean, that's as generic as it gets.
Yep.
But kids bought it. Danny had it. I had Optimus. It got broken. But yeah, the only reason it's not as strong on my list is because I've had 30 more years of repressing the truth of it.
I'm only just not coming out of my childhood. Okay, I need some therapy.
Yeah, So I've had time to put it behind me.
The other thing for me though is I didn't watch that movie until I was like a lot older. So for me, it was like almost 6 years of just watching the first 2 seasons, and to me that was Transformers. And so for like imagine like 6 seasons of Transformers came out, and they were all just as good because they were all the exact same thing.
You always knew that there was a Transformer movie.
I knew there was a movie, but I never watched it.
It was looming out there, and you could watch it anytime. For us, it's like we grew up watching this daily. There was G.I. Joe, there was Transformers, there was then Gilligan's Island and Star Trek. There were that was the 4 shows I remember watching every day as a kid. There were some other ones that came and went, but then we heard, they're making Transformers the movie. Oh my gosh, this is unreal. And then we watched it with great anticipation and excitement, and then they killed off all the characters that we knew and loved.
Whoever wrote that movie, I don't like you very much.
Oh no, they've been threatened with their life.
Now your top 5.
My number 5.
Your 5th one. Your number 5.
Garbage Pail Kids.
I don't know that movie.
Okay, so
come on.
It's actually about the same time the Transformers movie, and this might be an obscure one for anybody who's not of my age, my generation. Look it up. Okay, you've seen Howard the Duck, right? How cheesy and hard that is to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Garbage Pail Kids. So Garbage Pail Kids were, for anybody who doesn't know,
I think you showed me
Garbage Pail Kids were stickers that were puns or plays on words that were the names of these kids, like Stinky Pete, or
it's not a freaking
no, I know, but whatever. I can't think of the names, but there was like
Stinky Steve,
Sally Smelly, or whatever. I don't know. Anyway. Something like Chuck something, and he was puking, and they were deliberately disgusting, kind of vulgar, vile little kids made up to be stickers. So that they took something that was supposed to be cute and wholesome and made it completely disgusting, and for some reason it just became a fad and this thing in a phase that everybody went through, that they had to have Garbage Pail Kids, and kids did trade them and collected them like there were baseball cards for kids who didn't watch baseball. And for a certain generation, and around that Nickelodeon era, where I've talked about where
like Ren and Stimpy,
it was way before that. It was
I know, but
it was the reason.
The gross kind of.
No, but what I mean is where if those who you don't know me. Nickelodeon is kind of my baseline where culture shifted a little bit, because all of a sudden you went from the Huxtables, where the kids did their thing, messed up, and then went to the parents or the grandparents, and they got their advice from reliable family sources who taught them right and wrong, and therefore then taught the audience right and wrong. And then you start transitioning into Punky Brewster or something where the kids know best, and the adults are more buffoons.
Honestly, I don't like that culture shift either.
Well, and then that's why, like Hannah Montana, or then whatever that other show is where the parents aren't even in the picture, and the goofy idiot older brother is the one running the show.
Oh, iCarly?
iCarly, yeah. So when Nickelodeon first came on the scene, they were the gross out channel, and they had Double Dare, which I actually love, but all of a sudden talking about and showing boogers and picking your nose became cool instead of taboo. But their sales pitch, they had a Nickelodeon magazine that came along with the channel, the actual channel. It's where cable TV started coming into the picture. They had Nickelodeon magazine, and one of their ad tags was "Tell your parents to order you Nickelodeon magazine." When everything before that was ask your parents to sign you up for Highlights magazine or all these wholesome things, and Nickelodeon magazine was like trash for kids. It was absolute garbage. So that came out around the same time as these Garbage Pail Kids. So there were these gross things where they were either peeling their skin off, or like Razor Larry or something. He's shaving half of his face off so you can see his skull, whatever. So they had a movie where it's all these actors, kids, little people, if that's still the acceptable term. I'm just basing that off Little People, Big World. Anyway, in costumes with these giant oversized heads that barely had any animatronics to them. It's scary, not amusing or fun or funny. For some reason, Dustin and Danny and I went to the theater and watched it like 50 times. But it's
What?
It was there was nothing else out. You're talking about one movie a month at best that comes out into the theater. Your megaplexes had 4 theaters. That was
Well, my thing's like it's made it on your list and you watched it this many times and it was such a popular thing.
because there was nothing else out. But it was good, just so terribly made. And yeah, we said no B movies. At the time, it was a main run, very popular movie, but it was just
Makes sense.
garbage.
Makes sense.
Look it up on YouTube, watch a clip of it. It'll take you 2 seconds to see why.
Jeez.
Garbage acting, cheesy costumes, no plot, just garbage.
So
Just garbage.
I don't know how you're going to feel. I'm going to go with my number 4.
Okay.
I don't know how you're going to feel about this, but I know I'm going to catch some flack if there is an audience watching this.
Yeah.
My number 4 spot is Moana.
Okay.
I cannot...
Because they rhyme island with island?
No. I cannot stand Moana. I can barely even stand talking about it.
Okay.
It is my least favorite movie Disney has ever put out there. And, like, if it's to the point where if it's on, I'm out of the room. If I own a house someday and somebody throws it on for my kid is watching something else. Turn that movie off. It's not playing in my home. So here's the thing that bugs me about it. One, what we talked about in A New Hope, right? Like throwing an audience off, like right off the bat. Here's the thing that bugs me with Moana, and this is more of like me and how I grew up and the kids I grew up around. So in the first scene with Moana, you get the story, right? And there's like the scary part to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the kids are terrified, and Moana's sitting there all goofy-eyed and smiling. And to me, it brings me right back to all those stupid little fake kids at my school that would do stuff like that and like trying to be different or trying to act like it's like they're. So I don't know if you know about this, okay, but this is a really big thing with kids my age. So if it was ever pouring down rain or if it was ever really, really cold, you'd always get that one kid
That wears shorts.
that wears shorts
Yeah.
and a t-shirt, and he'd say things like, "It doesn't bother me," or he'd go like, "You think
I'm
this,
not cold."
You think this is cold?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, dude." And like to me, that was exactly like right off the bat in the opening scene where that wasn't like, "Oh, you think this is scary? I like kind of scary stuff. I like that kind of like." I dealt with like, I already graduated middle school. Okay, I don't need you throwing me right back with all these kids I couldn't stand. So that was just the opening
So
scene.
obviously it hit you at the wrong time in your life. Mentally and emotionally
It could have hit me any time in my life. But
I think
it hit me because of what happened in my life. So this is more of my because of the way
it's an impact on you.
This is why. So my movies have a deeper meaning. So I don't like the Transformers movie because it ruined the Transformers. I don't like Moana because it reminds me of all of those kids I had to grow up around.
Oh yeah, how it makes you feel. That's fine.
Exactly.
That works.
And then what the thing is she just throughout the movie she seems so fake. She seems like way too cheery, super fake. And here's the thing to me, like she the whole she's special thing and like the water chose her. So like she throws a turtle into the water, big deal. The turtle. First off, the turtle was going to make it anyway. Second off, there's that story. You know,
it wasn't that. It was the fact that she's connected with the grandma who had the thing. It just
I think that was just
it's a little bit of her bloodline.
I think that was just a culture thing.
Yeah.
But then the water chose her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she threw a turtle back. Chill out.
No, it's the fact that she's willing to go out.
And then
into this.
here's the thing with me. It's like she seems so fake to me all the time, and like she earns all all this stuff happens that she doesn't earn. So like one, she's so defiant all the time, wants to go into the water. Sure, she was chosen by the water, so she wants to be cool. But she's
protected from drowning.
But she's so defiant, and she never listens to her dad. And sorry, in 1 second. And she never listens to her dad. And here's the thing.
when she finally decides, like 16 something years later, that she wants to stop, she's immediately way better than all the other people and everything. Like, she fixes the roof for the guy who didn't even think about it, and she's all uppity and cheery about it. Oh, and I did this too, and I made this. Would you like some pork? And it was just, like way too cheery, way too good at everything, like total Mary Sue, and then when the fish start coming up dry, she's like, "What if we fish beyond the reef?" And I'm like, "Really? Like, you haven't been saying that your entire life, and you're trying to act like it's some kind of original idea?" He's like,
"Wow,
so
this movie struck a nerve with you."
So to wrap it all up, it reminds me of that stupid fake personality that I can't stand. She's that to a T. There's nothing special about her. She didn't earn anything that she gets in that movie, and she what was that last part that I was gonna say? Throughout the entire movie, like, there's no reason it has to be her. You know what I mean? She adds nothing to the table, and she's so defiant. Like, that's the thing that bugs me, when people are just openly defiant of their parents, but they get lucky. Like, she almost drowns like 80 times.
Yeah,
and
when anytime you pick a character, and this is like Rey in
Star Wars.
the Star Wars,
There you go.
the new Star Wars trilogy, you take her out of the equation. Does it change anything? Is there
Right.
anything about her uniquely? Take the powers away, and is there anything about her that makes her so special?
Yes.
That she adds to the story, or the reason the story goes this way? Is it her compassion? Is it her ability to do this, or her ability to connect with people that makes her that much better? Or is it just that she has, like Harry Potter is a really good wizard, but it's his compassion and his ability to connect with his friends that always saves the day.
Right.
It's the more than element.
To me, yeah.
And if there's no more than element to Moana, other than every time the chips are down, she gets rescued by something or someone else, that's just fate smiling on you. So, okay, I get it.
So I can't stand that movie. I can't watch it, and I don't want to.
All right. Is the rest of your list cartoons?
First
I'm
off,
just messing with you.
he who watched Garbage Pail Kids 50 times.
It wasn't a cartoon. It was live action.
Heads bigger than their...
Oh yeah, there were big animatronic heads thrown on their bodies.
Okay, so was the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but I'm not calling that a live action.
Oh, that was terrible.
So-
Man, you want to talk about cheese?
That,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay.
It's on my list, but
So, this, when you talk about impact on me, it could be the number one if you wanted to talk about
Really?
just its impact on me. The Fly.
oh my gosh, I remember you talking about this.
Okay, so our movie choices are
Wait,
definitely.
Can I say something? Can I say something before? Like,
Yeah.
like what? All I know from this right now is my dad telling me how this movie used to scare the you know what out of him, and it just grossed him out to no end. And he's like, "Oh, you like wake up in cold sweats from this movie."
Oh yeah. So hopefully my parents never listen to this. But what were you two thinking? Okay. So, like I said, we're dating ourselves. We're definitely showing the generation gap, and this is the whole point of movies with my dad, of what our choices are. Mine obviously are skewing over 45 years.
So
Yours
The
are
Fly is a
skewing over
horror
19.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a horror movie. I watched it when I was like 8 years old.
Oh
my parents
gosh.
allowed me to watch it. I wanted to, everybody was in the living room. It was time for me to go to bed. I had to go to bed, earlier than everybody else because I was younger than my siblings by quite a bit. And I insisted, I want to see it. It was a remake. It was Jeff Goldblum and I think Gina Davis. Yeah, Gina Davis. And the two of them ended up married for a while or whatever. It was a very popular movie when it came out. And I wanted to see it. It was at home on VHS. We rented it back in the day. That's how you did it. You went to a video store. You didn't go to the theater for only occasionally. So it was expensive. Well, at least first run movies. So 8 years old, I really want to watch it. And so my parents are like, okay, fine. You want to watch it? Go ahead, stupid. I'm sure that's what they were thinking. But it's a real tough It's a real tough way to teach a lesson
To an 8-year-old.
to an 8-year-old that has a lot deeper consequences. So I'm 8 years old and I'm watching this movie, and it starts out where Jeff Goldblum gets in this teleportation device because they're coming up with new technology, and a fly gets in with him. He teleports the other one, and his DNA gets combined with that of a fly, and he transitions into a fly as the movie goes on. And it's not like the old movie where all of a sudden you see a dude with a fly head that's super tiny and it's, PG. It gets disgusting. Skin falling off and flaking off and peeling, as gory and nasty as you can get. There's a scene where he's in the bar or something and someone picks a fight with him, and he ends up throwing up on the dude's hand like a fly would throw up on something, and then the acid dissolves. It starts to dissolve the guy's hand. It's thoroughly disgusting. Then there's and take your kids out of the room if they're listening to this, because this one's, it's gory.
Is this the Jaw one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's doing something else, some other part of the movie, and someone reaches up and touches his face, tries to grab something, and his jaw falls off. His lower jaw falls off. And he's losing teeth through the whole thing, but when his jaw falls off into someone's hand, it's just so gross because he's transforming into this giant human-sized fly. Just the special effects on it were... So as far as like a movie, if you like horror movies, it was a great movie, and that's why I have a hard time putting it on my list. But the impact it had on me, I don't like horror movies. It was absolutely disgusting. It freaked me out. I ran away after the puking on the hand scene, but then I made my way back down the hallway and watched it, peeking through the wall to not see the whole thing, but I had to see how it ended because I couldn't let it go. But yeah, scared the crap out of me, traumatized me as a young kid, and just thoroughly disgusting. So it makes the top 5, just because its impact on me, because it's so horrific.
You can bring your kids back now.
Yeah.
That was grossing me out. Just listening to that. Ugh. So my third one, and this is more of a kind of a culture thing and our lifestyle. I put Noah.
Oh yeah, good call.
Noah is, oh my gosh,
Good call.
that honestly, it almost made number 1.
Wow. Yeah.
It was, to me, is like here's the
Well,
thing.
knowing that you and I probably have the same top 2,
We 100% have the same top 2.
I can see why it didn't. But yeah, anyway, go ahead.
So
Continue.
here's the thing about Noah. So I won't say exactly what we are, but we are a Christian valued family. So we, believe me, we know we study the story of Noah. So to watch it get ripped apart in this fashion, in part action movie, part disgusting, hypersexual, very...
What?
This is like the stuff with Emma Watson and like her boyfriend in the movie. That was like ridiculous.
Oh, I don't even remember that part. All I remember is the rock monsters helping.
I won't even.
Yeah.
So like, they didn't show, like, it was very
Alluded to,
It was
yeah.
very suggestive. That's what I'll say. Like, to the point where like you would, like you would have to take kids out of the theater.
Yeah.
Like just off of those scenes, just because believe me, you don't want
Yeah.
to explain what was going on. But so like you had all of that. Then you mix that with like. If you're gonna try and do like a realistic story of the Bible where like you make it kind of, because here's the thing, if you make the Bible into a movie, it's gonna be rated R.
Well, remaking Ben-Hur, we saw the Ben-Hur.
Isn't Ben-Hur a really good movie? Is this the one I'm thinking of? Is this
Yes, the chariot race one.
Yes, that's a great movie.
With the 2 brothers and a stepbrother, whatever.
Yeah.
That was a phenomenal remake. It was very powerful, very emotional. This one started skewing sci-fi off of a Bible story.
Disgusting. So here's the thing: if you want to make something dark and gritty and feel real to the story, don't have massive rock giants. like I remember we were walking out of the theater, and I was still somewhat young at the time, so I asked you for clarification. I remember this so vividly. I asked you for a little bit of clarification. I'm like, Dad, was that somewhat accurate? And you looked at me. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there isn't a quote in the Bible that says we take the giants first.
And
Yeah,
at that point, I was like, okay, this movie was stupid.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember very vividly. And cover your kids' ears if they're listening to this part. This is the part that really stuck with me, where I'm like, we really should have just two parts where we really should have just walked out of the theater. Was one, there's a scene where they're in this training camp or whatever. There's like a lot of impoverished people or whatever it is. They're hungry, so the rich people on the other side, or the generals on the other side, they take the sheep and they throw it over this massive fence, and all the starving people are grabbing onto it, and they're gripping like the side of the sheep so tight you see it like start to tear it apart. And it was just the most disgusting, sad, like
ravenous thing.
horrible thing you're watching in a movie. It's just disgusting. And there's like another scene where it's like a little girl or something. I think she died because she got like trampled to death by like a mob, and it's just like, and there's like, I don't remember it completely, but there's like some witchcraft in the movie.
Yeah.
It is just the most. This is a movie.
I don't even remember most of it.
See, that's the thing. This is a movie where we look back on it, and the only thing we say is we should have walked out of the theater.
Yeah.
It is one of the worst movies I can possibly think of, because of one, the big thing for me and why it made the list so highly was what it does to a very famous biblical story.
Yeah.
And the way it skews it, and the horrible twist it puts on it.
And your faith in Russell Crowe as an actor.
I am not entertained, but just to me, because it's Noah, and because it's this story, and the way that they did it, and how horrendous it was, and also the fact that it's just a really bad movie. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It's that bad.
All right, my number 3.
Number 3.
There was one I could throw in, just like you said, where it should have walked out. Your Mom and I. This is
before you list your number 3.
This is 3.5. Cold Light of Day, I think it is.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, Henry Cavill.
Really?
Yeah. And I can't remember who else. It's like three great actors, one bad movie. Your Mom and I had a Tuesday off together, and based on the way our schedules were going, we were going to be able to have a day together. We started out our day going to a matinee and watching this movie, and we both got up and left after 30 minutes because it was just so poorly acted, poorly executed, just terrible movie. And then it ruined the rest of our day, and we were bickering at each other because it messed up our plan for what we had for the day.
Oh, jeez.
And then we never did Matinee Tuesday ever again for like the 3 months that we had the same schedule. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So, anyway, another one where, again, this is one where, I mean, most of the bad movies you should have got out and walked away. But AI.
I've never seen that.
Again, it's based on generation. So AI is a Steven Spielberg movie.
I've heard about this movie.
Beautifully crafted special effects, CG for the time. It was really, really well done. Great visual everything to it. You know, really stunning looking shots and views and everything else. It had was it Haley Joel Osment?
Yeah.
Sixth Sense. And it had who's Grindelwald in the new
Johnny Depp?
No, Jude Law.
Yes.
Jude Law was in it. Anyway, just really amazing. It was about this these family. I think their kid died, and they replaced him with an AI kid, or they adopted this AI kid, and he doesn't know that he's real. It's kind of like a Hallmark card version of Blade Runner, where the kid doesn't realize that he's a robot. So the family, like they adopt him or whatever, or create him, bring him home. I can't remember what is blocking it out. And then the mom just can't hack it, and the fact that he's not real, and it just doesn't sit right, and they ditch him. And then he, basically Land of Misfit.
A terrible story.
Yeah, Land of Misfit toys himself, and gets kind of guided through the rest of the story by the Jude Law character, and it was just so slow. It's like a 3-hour movie.
Ooh.
But with nothing. It was just boring dialogue and multiple endings where you're like, okay, just let's put a bullet in this movie's head and walk away. It's like, are we done with this? I don't get it. It's going nowhere. What's the point? You don't care about the characters. You don't care about the kid. And it's like, whatever. There's a point in the commercial where... There's a point in the movie where you can tell there's like 30, 40 people in the theater with your mom and I watching this. There's a point in the movie where he's like making the mom a cup of coffee and trying to impress her and doing everything he can to make her love him, but it's not her real son, so she's not like into it. And so I shouted out, "What is this, a Folgers commercial?" Everybody in the theater started laughing because they were all feeling the same way. It was just this garbage movie, and just such a, it's like that was the only enjoyable part of the entire movie experience was just no one cared if I interrupted the movie by shouting something out. And I'm not the guy that shouts stuff out in the theater. I take the movie watching experience in the theater very seriously. So the fact that the movie was so bad and everybody was okay with it, it was...
We've almost gotten into a couple fights with people who wouldn't shut up.
Yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
garbage movie, plotless, pointless, 3 hours of your life you'll never get back, and it's like twists and turns that go nowhere for no reason. Garbage movie. Sorry.
So you already know what my top two are. Why don't you guess number two?
Well, my number two is the same, and it's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You want to say our number one on three?
No, we'll save it. Let's get through Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So let's
bad.
let's both talk about it. So here's the thing for me. Once again, I grew up with Avatar: The Last Airbender. You don't even want to hear me start going. Actually, yeah, you do. But like, my goodness. Here's the thing I have to say. That is my favorite TV show of all time. I love Avatar: The Last Airbender with all my heart. That is, like, if I could choose any one show, like, if I had one show to watch for the rest of my life and I couldn't watch any other TV, I would choose Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So I can sum up really quickly why it's number two on both of our lists.
Right.
One, even if it didn't have the cartoon to go with it,
it was a horrible movie.
A garbage movie. I mean, the worst acting. I mean, these people couldn't act their way out of a paper bag. It was ridiculous. Like, they're reading the script for the first time on camera. It is that bad.
Yeah.
Just so horrible. And then the fight sequences, the choreography was garbage. Just everything about it. It's like, it makes a B movie look legit, just how garbage the acting is. And the special effects are not that great, but it's so disappointing from such a great... You're talking about the director that did Signs and Sixth Sense and all these great movies. Then he goes...
Unbreakable.
And then does Avatar: The Last Airbender. You're like, oh, in the hands of a... Yeah, he's had some disappointing movies. He peaked in the early part of his career. But you're thinking, okay, this is a guy who watched the cartoon series with his kids. You think he's going to put some love and care into it, and he's got some draw. He can really bring some Hollywood pizzazz with it. And then he just falls flat on his face.
You can...
The second reason...
Yes, second reason.
Is, and this will tie into the first one as well, is this is a movie that is a franchise killer.
That is exactly
it's a franchise killer.
You want to talk about movies that have a deeper meaning to why they're bad? This movie is bad because that's what it did to Avatar.
Yeah. Because not only every time you watch the cartoon, you can't help but think of the movie and how terrible it is and how it missed its opportunity to be given a proper movie to watch. This cartoon is phenomenal. There are very few shows where all 6 of our family members sit and watch something and all of us love it.
This show is that good.
Did you say show?
Show.
Oh,
I did not say that.
It sounded like yawning as you said it. Where you guys were pretty little. Like, Hunter was little when we started watching it, and your mom and I were in our 30s, 40s, whatever we were, when it's probably 30s, I guess. but we enjoyed it. It kind of had that feel of old 80s cartoons, but with a great story, great character development.
And a great concept.
And just the whole thing. Across the board, one of the best cartoons ever made. Really well done. Great series. Thought out from beginning to end. They knew the beginning from the end from the beginning. They knew where they wanted to go. It didn't get lost in itself in any, there were some diversionary, subplots in some of the stuff, but just to make it a more robust show. But it was a really well done cartoon series that the whole family enjoyed. So we were really excited about the movie, and the movie is just garbage. And it taints your view of the cartoon when you go back and watch the cartoon. It wrecks the possibility for a decade of a reboot. No one's going to try and tackle it again in live action form. And look what happened. A decade later, they try and tackle it again in live action form as a live action series.
The live action TV show that bombed
on Netflix, and they got rid of the original writers and whatever.
Michael and Brian.
Yeah, the creators of the show, they got rid of them. And so now the thing's fallen flat again and missing another opportunity to bring this into live action.
You just can't catch lightning in a bottle again.
I think you could develop that into like Transformers got brought into live action. The only reason, the first Transformers was great.
I like the first Transformers movie.
Yeah, good. They changed up, like you were talking about today, or about it being Sam Witwicky instead of Spike. They mixed up. They changed up a couple things that aren't deal breakers. It makes for a great movie. The only thing that got in the way of Transformers, the original Transformers being the first one, being a really great live action movie, is Michael Bay blowing everything up for no reason.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was a pretty decent movie. So they could do that. Avatar just needs the passion to make it
right.
As great as it is.
If I can go on my rant about it, my thing is, to go off of your point, the problem with movies like that is the story's already written, right? So you're literally just rehashing it in live action form. So what do you bring to the table? What you bring to the table, one, is definitely not firebenders now can only make fire by rubbing two sticks together, and when flame erupts, then they can move it. But cramming an entire first season into one movie.
Yeah. You can't throw how many hours? 8 to 10 hours of story?
Something like that.
At least.
In the first story, you had
a 2-hour live action.
You had the origin story. You had the fight with Zuko.
Yeah.
You had the winter solstice. You had the forest episode. You had the entire siege of the North Pole was an hour.
But the thing is, even biting off too big of a piece of pie is not what made that movie suffer.
There's so much we're not touching on because there's so much to touch on. First off, his name was Ong. His name was Aang. His name is Aang. Okay?
Yeah, they changed pronunciations of names. They overdid. They changed the choreography with just garbage.
They changed the looks of every character. Yeah. No character looks like who they are in the show at all. Like Uncle Iroh, I think, even though it's Uncle Iroh.
Yeah,
you understand me. And the thing is, this is
the only one that
everything
the kid
looks terrible.
The Avatar looked close. Big-headed, bald-head kid. He
just bad acting.
The bad acting, but I think he did. I think he fit. Look-wise, he's the only one that worked.
Yeah, I guess you're right, a little bit. But then you have they mix up the tattoos. They make him kind of tribal. I know some people kind of like that, but if you're looking at
that part was fine.
Yeah, but if you're talking about stuff to stack up against this movie, I would put it on the list.
There's a lot of stuff that, like I said,
I remember. So
the acting suffered more than any other part of that movie.
I can go on a rant for an hour about this. So here's the best way I'm going to sum it up. We once a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we'll never do a movie review on this, so don't worry. It's just
you ask us for a movie review on Avatar, I will delete my channel. But
so this is a movie where we've gone back. I've gone back a couple times. You've gone back a couple times. We tried to watch it just to give it a fair shake, and got 15 minutes into it.
No. So that wasn't it. We a couple of years ago. So after the whole fair shake, we realized it was terrible. But a couple of years ago, we'd known it was so bad, but it was on Netflix for a little bit because the show was on Netflix as well, and they have the rights, so they might as well do it, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at it, and I'm like, I think it was me or somebody else. We said something like, the only reason we could watch that movie is to make fun of it, kind of like
riff tracks.
riff tracks. And so
we're going to do our own riff tracks.
Yeah,
over it.
you went like, you know what? Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's that's the thing. We don't like talking.
Yeah, that was like a year ago.
Yeah, we don't like talking during movies, right? But if you already know the movie and you know the movie's bad, I say why not? It can be a fun night. But we did it with the intent that we knew we could talk over.
We
this
were
movie.
going to deliberately just trash the movie.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this one because I'm very proud of it. I made my joke right off the bat because we knew this movie was so bad. The opening scene, it says book 1 water, and I just went book only. And I thought it was the best. I thought it was so clever.
The most clever thing you've ever said.
Completely.
Yeah.
And what's it called? We start making jokes, and like Olivia said like one thing that was really funny. You said like one joke that was really good, and the jokes were really landing. But here's the thing: even though it was so funny, and we were doing the commentary over it, we still didn't even make it past 15 minutes. If you want to actually time check us on this, we cut it off right when they made it to the Northern Air Temple. Right when he's like, "You guys can come out now," or something like that.
As funny as it was, and as good a time as we were having mocking it, it still is so bad we couldn't sit through it to mock it.
To me,
because it's so hard to watch.
We couldn't mock it because it was that bad. To me, the opening scene of Batman and Robin was better than this one. And you had ice skates and details in the bat suit that shouldn't have been there.
Exactly.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger going, "Ice to meet you."
Yeah.
Just okay. You and I both know what the number one is. On 3, 1, 2.
Okay, hold on. Do you want me to throw out my honorable mention?
Yes,
real quick?
please. Honorable mention first.
So my honorable mention is Colors. Colors is a movie about Bloods and Crips. Robert Duvall, Sean Penn, 80s movie. The reason it makes my honorable mention list is good movie, really well done, well acted, well executed. The impact on society, like worldwide, United States-wide, growing up in Rohnert Park, a quiet... What?
I don't want to give away our information.
We're going to dox ourselves? We don't even live in the same state anymore. Who cares?
Why would you say that?
Who cares? Hey, I grew up in Rohnert Park. Big deal. I don't live there anymore. Anyway, good luck finding out where that is anyway. So, point is...
Who's going to find us? No one wants to move there.
Whatever. A small bedroom community, latchkey community close to the Bay Area where everybody was commuting in, blah, blah, blah. It was... in the 80s, it was relatively Mayberry. It was a small, quiet town. The movie Colors comes out, and now everybody, and I mean everybody, from 5th grade to high school and beyond, now everybody wants to be a gangster. Everybody wants to be a gang member. Everybody in the town came up with all these different gangs and groups, and everybody divided themselves and started wearing different colors and whatever. So its reach, it was so influential and so toxic and poisonous to society because of what it inspired.
Was it even a good movie?
It was a really, like I said, fantastically well done movie.
Okay.
But people missed the point, and it was so enticing to kids. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto is to kids. You give Grand Theft Auto to a 5-year-old, don't be surprised when he becomes some murdering, thieving hooligan by the time he's 19 years old or 18 years old or even 15 years old and stealing cars. It's no surprise that life is the way it is now because of these massively influential things that people watch. So that was my honorable mention, because its impact on society.
I'd say it's completely fair. If it's like, because like I said, this is
devastating to small towns.
There's a deeper meaning to why these movies are bad. Because here's the other thing: there's a deeper meaning to the movies we love. Yeah. There's a connection there. So like with stuff like that, if it influences a culture in a negative way, absolutely throw it on there. Yeah. You and I both know the one.
Okay. Number 1
on 3.
Go ahead.
No, I want to do it in sync.
All right.
It's funny. 1, 2, 3. The Last Jedi. Yeah.
There is no worse movie.
This is a movie where I said this in the Godzilla vs. Kong one. You don't just not watch this movie. You Fahrenheit 451 that thing. You get rid of it. Here's the worst part about this movie is the people behind it.
It's everything.
Here's the biggest reason
in around it and through it.
Here's the biggest reason why it made the list, because it was the franchise killer of Star Wars. I'm not saying Force Awakens was perfect.
It's the franchise killer of franchises, and
it's straight up killing Disney.
Okay, so I'm an original trilogy fan. Or you're more of a... Well, you're an original trilogy fan.
Give me a break. Yeah, I'm an OT fan.
But there are... Even original trilogy fans can find common ground with prequel trilogy fans. Prequel trilogy fans who grew up in it, original trilogy fans understand. Hey, that's what you grew up with. You were a kid when it came out. It was just as influential to you. The prequel trilogies were just as influential to you as the original trilogies were to me, because of the time it hit in your life and where you were and the magic of it.
Like,
I get it. I can get behind it. Yeah. And I can watch Jar Jar and be annoyed by him, but still enjoy the movie, the plot development, the characters. I can the bad acting. I can get through. I can stomach all of it because it still plays in the same sandbox. It still abides by the same rules. Right. It still has the same heart and the same core and the same fundamentals and core values that the original trilogy has. A New Hope, although it was almost a scene-for-scene rehash of... not A New Hope, sorry. Force Awakens was...
A scene-for-scene of A New Hope.
It was, a rehash of A New Hope with some different characters and some nonsense thrown in. Different pacing, the modern pacing like we were talking about.
It had its perks.
But for a right out the gate, for the first movie in another 10, 15 years since the prequels.
If you start thinking about like the build-up and the amount of pressure and the amount of weight this movie needed to carry.
10, 12 more years since the prequels, people thought there were never going to be any Star Wars movies again. George Lucas actually sold the franchise to Disney. You're like, oh, that was never going to happen. How crazy. But now Disney's at the reins. They're going to have...
You'll overheat it.
They're gonna get to it. They can put some weight behind it. You can draw from the best story writers and the best actors and the best directors and everything else. And Lucas kind of goes off on his little tangents and lets his emotions get, and I want to see this happen. That's why midichlorians came out, because his original intent for the Force was the Wills, which were these little microscopic beings, but they were, like within you and had their own society in your cells. Just bizarre. It's like, dude,
it's garbage.
At this point, it does. If you sold us to that originally, we would have bought it. But you can't go back and do it. It's just garbage. Let it go. This has moved on past you and beyond you. Without you, you can't take it back, because it kind of, I hate to say it belongs to the world, because it is his property, is his intellectual property, it's his story. Tell it. But at a certain point, you got to let things go, because the fandom has moved beyond. And this, there is no other movie property that is bigger, like we've talked about in one of our last review. So you can't just disrespect the coverage. So
yeah, you
franchise killer. No one can common ground it. No respectable Star Wars fan has.
No respectable movie fan can like this movie.
No. I'll disagree with you on that.
Oh, okay.
Because
that's what
the movie
I shouldn't have said.
Actually has some positives for it, but I can't even stomach going back and watching it to then go and do a review on it or critique it or anything else.
We should do like a top 5 least favorite parts of this movie.
I can't even do it. So, but beautiful, stunning cinematography. And there were some really cool shots. One of the most lore-wrecking, culture-wrecking parts of the movie, the Holdo maneuver, which is an absolutely garbage maneuver by a garbage character that shouldn't have been done. They pay no respect to the classic original trilogy characters that everybody grew up with and everybody's loved for 40
This
years.
was just-
They literally
Yeah.
throw them out the window like they don't matter, unceremoniously, and no one cares.
This was so
Well,
indicative of the people that are at Lucasfilm today.
Yeah.
They hate.
Let's not go off on that. Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Look-
Stay away from political and the.
No, I'm not saying political. I just don't like Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
So here's what I don't like.
He's a turd.
You can go into the politics, you can go into whatever you want of this movie, but here's what I'm going to say to remain impartial. When you make a movie like that, and even though it's before it, you have a posted picture of you with your smug little face and a piece of paper on that says your Snoke theory sucks. I'm sorry, but you're a jerk.
When your intent is to subvert expectations,
when I'm
and
really
that's what you say is you're subverting expectations, and you don't actually care about Star Wars. You're going to make you're going to make your own movie. I'm going to make the movie I want to make. I'm not worried about the fans.
When you hate the fans, when you hate Star Wars, when you don't listen to a word that Mark Hamill says, and then call him a word that I'm not even going to insinuate to on this podcast. Allude to. That's my bad. When that's my thing. Take everything else out of it. Ryan Johnson's a jerk, and him and all these other people. It was like 9 of them that are all were thinking the same thing for the movie. They locked themselves in a room, wrote the movie, didn't let anybody else look at it or even make a suggestion about it, and they came out and said the movie's written. This is what we're going with.
And didn't pay heed to any of the other movies that had been made up to that point. Even care.
It was literally a movie that he wanted to make. Oh, but you have to make it a Star Wars movie. Fine, I hate Star Wars, so let's ruin it while I can. And it's just people who hate Star Wars, who hate the fans, who wanted to destroy this franchise, and now they have the gall to say it's like the best one.
So the critics loved it, fans hated it. I mean, to an overwhelmingly
I don't trust the critics.
Overwhelmingly distorted numbers.
Yeah.
So like I said, the Holdo maneuver, which is just a movie wrecker as far as the concepts.
Because that messes up the entire universe.
But the sound editing, the visual effects on that shot, the visual effects and the sound editing and the moment.
It was a very mesmerizing scene.
It was seriously, it was one of the best scenes I've seen in a movie. It is just so well done, where the ship goes crashing through all the other ships with this bolt of lightning effect as it streaks into hyperspace and lays waste to everything in its path. It was an incredibly well done move and picture and image, and then the sound pauses almost like you're waiting for a sonic boom, and then it hits you, and it was really well done.
Whoever was in charge of cinematography and sound editing for that movie, I would bring on a movie any day.
They did phenomenal job.
I would not let them touch the script.
But if another character, Admiral Akbar, had done it,
yes,
you might actually be okay with it.
My football coach brought this up to me actually the day after the movie. We were talking about it because we both went to see it. He's as big of a Star Wars fan as we are, and I didn't even think of it yet. And he's like, as cool of a scene as that was, that should have been Admiral Akbar. And I'm like, and I thought about it for 2 seconds, and I'm like, you're absolutely
100%,
right.
100% right.
So this movie,
and that's a prequel trilogy.
Yeah. So to paint it with a broad brush, it killed all the original trilogy characters.
Okay, so
quite literally,
it changed your views on the Force.
Yep.
It ruined Luke Skywalker, who is Star Wars.
Gosh! When you
ruined Luke Skywalker,
when you go after Luke Skywalker,
and ruined the actor who portrays him or plays him,
and
ruins the timing, how long it takes to fly somewhere in hyperspace. What you can do in space, what the Force can do, you name it. I mean, they run out of fuel. They can't, but the big ships can't catch up to the little ships, but yet TIE fighters can fly between them.
How does momentum even work in space? There's not exactly wind resistance.
Point being is they were at max speed, but yet the TIE fighters can fly faster than that. or just jump into hyperspace and get back in front of them. It was just not thought out. It was idiotic in every aspect, and it destroyed a franchise because
when your
it
movie
becomes
is so bad, you kill the next movie because the next movie spends the first hour and a half cleaning up your mess.
No.
It ruined the franchise. Yes, but what I mean
hold on.
is,
It ruined a movie that was a prequel, non-tangent movie. It ruined Solo.
oh yeah,
People deliberately protested and boycotted Solo because Last Jedi was so bad.
Solo got released 6 months late.
Solo got destroyed and didn't stand a chance of the sequel that they set up in the movie.
I was talking about the Rise
because
of Skywalker.
people didn't even see it. Then Rise of Skywalker had to go play rehab so much and had to rewrite and what retcon so much of what Last Jedi destroyed that they did their best to salvage everything they could, and it just ended up ruining that movie too. When your movie is so bad that it ruins the sequel because it's the sequel spending all this time cleaning up your mess, that's a bad movie. That's like smearing your wipe so bad that you also get it on the next roll of toilet paper. That's impressively bad.
That's like something dying in your house and you clean up the entire mess, but the smell is still there and you got to move. Like that's like it's so. The movie is just so.
Let's mop up this rotting carcass with a dead skunk. It doesn't work. You can't fix. It was so tragically broken. It was such a stinky turd of a movie that it made the next movie smell. And when you talk about impact and effect, that's a cultural impact. There is a war between fans and producers and movie studio executives. Disney is at war with
that movie started
with Kathleen Kennedy.
That movie started the divide in Disney.
So it is ruining an entire franchise and then spinning off into Disney as a result, and pop culture, and then at least it gave us the Mandalorian that's bringing everybody back together and uniting fans.
Well, the worst part is the divide is spilling into Marvel.
Yes, yeah. But so the impact on us, we rented out a theater, and no, we're not rich. We didn't, but
okay. Let's explain this.
Okay, so for all the last however many there have been, 5.
There have been So
the last 5
Force
Star
Awakens,
Wars
Rogue
movies.
One, Last Jedi, Solo, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. So for the last 5 movies, we've rented out a theater, an auditorium in a theater, 300 seats, and then just fronted the money and then sold the tickets back to friends at a higher price so that we have less people in the theater. So it's like 200 people in a 300 seat auditorium, very intimate, and everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, basically
it's all friends of us, and everybody's connected through one common person or two. You're going to know probably 60% of the theater somewhere.
You get your commitment, so you know the money's good, and you save up, and you get the money, which originally would be renting out the theater, but nobody's got that kind of money lying around. So we sell it back to all our friends, and we break even, and we have a private theater with just us and our friends. It's a way to play the system without having to spend way too much money.
Yeah. So anyway, so you're talking about the greatest way to watch a movie.
Right.
Intimate setting in a theater, great sound, great stadium seating, everything. It was a phenomenal experience.
Yes.
And everybody's cheery, everybody's chipper, everybody's in the same good mood. Everybody has the same respect for Star Wars and the same respect for movies. And you lay down the ground rules. Hey, no talking, no ruining everybody else's good time. Blah blah blah. Everybody agrees to the same ground rules. So you're watching this movie. We watched A New Hope.
Force Awakens.
We did Force Awakens that way.
We had a great time.
Everybody loved it, even for its faults. Everybody still loved it, had a great time, worked out the kinks with the rental. But it was great, phenomenal experience. Oh, and we had a taco truck there, and everybody.
So
had
we had friends who ran the taco truck. We knew them personally. We're like, hey, we're gonna have a bunch of people by the movie theater. You want to pull up to the side? And they did. And
yeah. We tailgated for 3 hours before the movie, having tacos and getting all lined up, and then walk into the back door, executive treatment to the theater, and had our own good time.
That's why, like, The Force Awakens and Rogue One, like those movies.
Yeah, so we did Force Awakens. It was great. Rogue One was phenomenal.
They'll have a special place in my heart because of those experiences.
Yeah, and then we are all sitting there watching The Last Jedi and watching this franchise get destroyed amongst 200 of our best, our closest friends.
It's like if you were to take my dog up to the stage and murder him in front of me.
At a family reunion. And then, so you all discuss it afterwards. It was still a fun experience, but it's so disappointing at the same time. And then so disappointing that it was difficult to do the next one and enjoy it, even though Solo was great. I enjoyed Solo.
Right.
And then everybody got together for The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. I don't even commit the names to memory because I don't care. Everybody got together for Rise of Skywalker in anticipation of, okay, let's see if they can, strap this train wreck to a rocket ship JJ, and do something.
We know we've had our differences in the past, but
work your magic. So, anyway, yeah, it was a great experience because they did their best with Rise of Skywalker. Right? Yes,
they tried. They
did their best with what they had to cobble a movie together that kind of made sense and kind of salvaged as much as they could out of the franchise. And I enjoyed it. I still haven't gone back and watched it more than once, but at least it's, like I said, they put it together and it brought back that good experience.
That's
why Last Jedi is the number one stinker turd movie of all time in my book.
Honestly, yeah, I think you can take any B-list movie or whatever. Who cares? I think The Last Jedi is the worst movie of all time. I think it's the worst movie to ever come to a screen.
B movies don't ruin franchises.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you talk about the impact on a culture, when you talk about the impact on a franchise of something beloved, you talk
the
about
movie industry in general.
You talk about the people behind the movie and who they are in real life, and you talk about just the overall movie in general and the people who made it. It is the worst movie of all time.
Yes,
hands down. So that's our top 5. And we were originally, my plan was originally to have us both say our top 5, and then we come to a consensus. But I haven't seen your movies.
Yes.
So I think it's good though. We already knew what our top. We did this 3 days ago. We're like, look, I already know that two of ours are.
If you're ranking it on a scale of 1 to 10, the worst 3 for both of us are what? Somewhere between
probably Noah, Avatar.
But on a ranking scale of 1 being the absolute worst, 10 being a decent, a great movie, I'd say they're floating around 6s and 7s.
Yeah.
Right? And then Avatar is like a 2.5. And then
The Last Jedi is like
a
0. It's a negative. It's a negative 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you'd have to do a scale of 1 to 100, and the first 3 for both of us are in somewhere in the 80s and 90s. And then the other ones are just off the friggin' chart terrible.
Once again, don't ask us to review this movie because we are not watching it again.
All right.
Thank you guys for listening.